I didn't add this to the scene. The contact, tough light, sparked a jolt of pure fire in his bloodstream. Up and close, she was even lovelier. Freckles were scattered across her nose. Her pale skin glowed with health and vitality. You want me to touch you? Is that what it's going to take to get you out of my life? He anchored her arms behind her back with one hand and traced his other down the front of her robe. How he longed to linger over the small mound of her breast, the hollow of her stomach, the waiting valley between her legs. If she'd possessed her usual curves, he knew he would not have been able to resist. Her desire to be thin was actually a blessing, but even now, like this, his control wasn't what it should have been. He was trembling, for God's sake. Stop, she whispered. Her eyes said more. All of his muscles bunched in reaction to that pleading tone, that needy expression, hardening, aching. He did not stop. He eagerly learned the length of her legs, her skin smooth and soft like velvet. By the time he finished, the full body caresses, sweat headed over his face and dripped in rivulets down his chest. More, she closed her eyes, all pretense of resistance gone. He pinched several strands of her hair between his fingers, enjoying the silkiness. He brought the tendrils of his nose and sniffed, nearly moaned. A fresh blooming garden. That's what her hair smelled like. He couldn't have breathed in the scent forever. If you want me to fuck you, he said, deliberately cruel, just as before, you'll have to enter the cell. For the best, it was better to be punished than to cave, he decided. What? Her eyes blinked open. He saw the need burning there, the want. Her nipples were hard, visible through her robe. The scent of awakened passion wafted from her, blending with a flowery fragrance of her hair. You heard me. No, I hate you. The words were spoken on a breathless sigh. Then she shook her head, eyes narrowing again, and backed away. I'm going to make you want me, Fallon. I'm going to make you crave me, but you are never going to have me. Do you understand? Never. A moment later, she vanished. The prison shimmered before disappearing too, and the next thing Fallon knew, he was lying on his bed again. As the cool sheets met his clean, dry skin, he rolled from the mattress and stalked to his closet. Fury, desire, and determination pounded through him. He strapped weapons all over his body, dressed and stalked from his house. No way he'd allow Glory to use her powers again on him. Not again. He was going to find her. Whatever he had to do, he was going to stop her. Heart thundering in her chest, Glory kept her eyes squeezed shut and inhaled deeply. The first thing she noticed was how the air no longer smelled of decadent men, sweat, and dark spice. Now she caught the faint drift of powdered sugar and jasmine incense. Who would have thought she'd mourn the loss of sweaty man air? Time to check out the rest. Slowly, she blinked open her eyes. Her notebook came into view. Everything that had happened was right there, the words staring up at her. She quickly looked away, not wanting to be reminded of her near capitulation. All Fallon had done was touch her, for love of the goddess, and she'd forgotten her need for revenge. The feel of his hands on her body, exploring, the sound of his rough voice in her ear, whispering, the desire blazing in his eyes, beckoning. Her stomach tightened, and the ache she'd experienced inside the prison renewed between her legs. Keep looking. Her flat screen computer came into view, followed by the wall of magazine pictures she used for reference and her hunks of the month calendar. Trash and dirty clothes were scattered all over her carpet. She hadn't cleaned since that terrible night. She didn't know why. It worked, she said, just to break the silence. It really worked. She'd actually sent Fallon in an ancient prison. Then she'd actually followed him there. Oh my. She sagged against the mattress and closed her eyes again. Fallon's image filled her mind. Her eyes, an exotic, come to me, violent freaked by thick black flashes. His dark hair, a little long, the shadowy stumble that dusted his jaw, the bronze skin and bodybuilder muscles she almost held. The man had exuded a potent animal magnetism. It had oozed from his pores. What was he doing right now? Cursing her to the heavens? She laughed, delighted by the thought. He might even be tugging on his clothes, determined to race over here and punish her. She stopped laughing. Having trouble catching her breath, Gloria scrambled out of the bed. Her jeans and panties floated straight to her ankles. What the hell? Frowning in confusion, she grabbed them, jerked them up, and launched forward, almost tripped as the clothes stumbled again. Growled. She needed to leave the house, like, now, and the wardrobe difficulties weren't helping. As she bent to retrieve her stuff, the notebook slid out of her fingers and onto the floor. She realized her clothes. She released her clothes and reached out. Her eyes widened as she caught a glimpse of her hand. She was so skinny. Her arms were slender, the bones fine. Her fingers were elegant. Wow. No wonder her jeans no longer fit. Why hadn't her slenderness faded with the scene? The answer hit her, and she grinned. She'd written it a little later. For the next few minutes, she'd be a total babe. Seriously, she'd never looked hotter. Maybe she should wait here. Maybe she should allow Fallon inside. Maybe, as she'd hoped, he would be overcome with lust for her, and the real revenge could begin. He would beg her to sleep with him, and she would say, hell no. And what if you plump up right before his eyes, huh? What then? Shit. Glory's heart jolted into hyperdrive, and she raced throughout her room, kicking off the two big jeans and panties and jerking on the nightgown. The silky pink material banged on her, but it was the only thing that would cover her and stay put. Why was she so nervous anyway? There was nothing Fallon could do to her, not why she owned the pen. He could steal it and use it against her. A knock sounded at the front of the house. Her mouth fell open and she straightened. No way, no damn way he'd made it here so quickly. She looked at her bedroom door, turned and craned her neck to see out the room's only window. A black SUV sat in the driveway. Damn, he had. Glory, Fallon's here to see you, Godiva called a moment later, only sounding the slightest bit confused. Tell him I'm not here. Glory propelled herself over her bed and to the window. She shoved the glass up and out of the way, never letting go of the pen. Cool air wafted inside, ruffling the thin, gaping gown against her skin as she climbed out the grass was soft against her bare feet. Maybe she'd go to Candy Cox's, she thought, racing through the night. No, Candy's sister was in town or due to arrive in town. The rumor was the woman negated powers of every kind. Worse, Candy's shape-shifting werewolf boyfriend would be there, which meant more sickening PDA. She could go to Pastor Harmony's. Ah, no, she decided next. Harmony was now a mother. The disdain triplet then? No, the brats would likely to welcome her inside and secretly call Fallon and alert him. So where did that leave her? Oh, no you don't. A male voice boomed behind her. She gasped, panic infusing her every cell. Goosebumps broke out over her skin. One backward glance. Shit, he jumped out her window and was now moving towards her, menacing purpose in his every step. His eyes were narrowed on her. The forest was 100 feet in front of her. If she could just... A rock cut into her bare foot and she fell. Grass padded her landing, but the hard impact still managed to shove the oxygen from her lungs. Glory, he said, sounding concerned. Go home. She grabbed a long, thin strike as she jumped to her feet. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Might come in handy. She jetted forward, taking stock. Heart still beating, pen and stick still in hand, legs walkable, aching but walkable. Twigs and rocks continued to scrape into her feet. Worry about the pain later. She just needed to get far enough away from Fallon to ride him into chains, if not. I called Hunter, Fallon shouted closer to her. She yelped but didn't allow herself to look back. Already his muscular scent wafted around her. Faster, woman. I want that pen, Glory. Shift. He was even closer now. There was no time to hide. As she ran, branches slapping at her, stinging, she began writing in her arms. Twigs reached out and grasped at Fallon. The words were barely legible. Behind her, Fallon growled. The rustle of trees echoed through the night. Was it working? Several of those twigs caught him and jerked him to a stop. An animalistic snarl erupted. Glory! This time Fallon's voice carried the wind. He sounded a good distance behind her. Stop! Glory slowed her steps. Panting, she tossed a look over her shoulders. Her eyes widened, and she ground to an abrupt halt. Limbs had indeed caught Fallon. There were wounds around him, like bands and indestructible silk, anchoring him to the base of the tree. His lips peeled back from his teeth, and he scrawled over at her. Come here, he shouted, now. Despite her whistling, she was feeling very smug. She turned away from him. One push of her finger and she broke the stick she grabbed when she'd fallen in two. What are you doing? Get over here. She gripped the hem of her nightgown and tied the pen inside it. Hopefully, if Fallon managed to escape, he would confiscate the stick, thinking it was the pen. That done, she turned back to him and approached, waving the stick smugly. Her muscles were sore from the run, and as she walked, her arms, legs, waist began to fill out. The weight returning, her breast swelled, stretching the fabric of the nightgown. At least the pen stayed in place. Still, some of her smugness disappeared. She didn't want Fallon to see her like this, but she wasn't going to waste any ink making herself skinny again.